I hope this is an acceptable shot, because I'm not getting back up. So, hi. Hello. I know my audience. A lot of you, I'm sure, are not feeling so hot heading into 2026. And same. This is on purpose, by the way. I paid a doctor real money in US dollars to break my femur. And I probably did a good job. My leg is broken. You like a pillow? Benny, can you toss me a pillow? Yeah. Upgrade, okay. I knew this was coming. This was a planned thing. My tibias were crooked. My femurs were crooked. Doctor chopped off my tibias, chopped off my femur, rotate them, staple them back on. Not crooked anymore. Yay! Modern medicine. Arts and crafts. So, I've just been hanging out, resting and icing, a little bit of doom scrolling. I know I'm not supposed to. This has not been a relaxing week to be laid up. I mean, okay, if I'd had this procedure at literally any point in 2025, I'm sure I would be saying the exact same thing. Like, I don't think there has been a week in the past year where there has not been some fresh horror dreamed up by the Trump administration and the billionaires flocking to his side. Just some new horrible piece of news that make us all go, ugh. Are we already in hell? Have the demons come to take the earth? I am really fucking impressed with how Minneapolis is showing up. Like, wow. I'm impressed. I'm inspired. I am horrified. I am devastated. I'm everything. I am all of it. It's exhausting. I know you feel the same way. It's exhausting. This is not going to be like a political recap video. This is not going to be like a doomer video. This is a surviving 2026 video. We're heading into a new year, and it's time to ask ourselves some questions. Like, how the fuck do we keep doing this? How the fuck do we keep doing this? And I have some answers for myself, and that's what this video is. It's kind of like a channel direction video, but also sort of my personal philosophy heading into 2026. Because it's very much tied to my personal philosophy when I make my, like, Changemakers videos. So obviously in 2026, I'm going to continue the Changemakers series, and I'm proud of myself for getting to the point of even being able to release those videos, because there's just something different about making media analysis or game analysis videos versus making political content. Like, it just hits me different at every single stage. The writing, the recording, the editing, releasing it, reading the comments, it's all like ratcheted up. Partially because like it's pretty low stakes if I analyze a game and my analysis is bad, or if somebody disagrees with me, they don't think I'm right about this video game. Okay. Cool. But at the point where you're making something that sort of like bears your political soul to the internet, when you're telling people, here's what I think you should do in this current moment, or here's how I think you should regard the people around you when we're discussing like the apparatus of change making, like that's high stakes. It's a big deal. Like, I hope people know that I am merely one person. I've made the observations that I've made, and I've brought them in through my worldview, and they've come out as these ideas that I carry with me through the world. They've been useful for me. I think they're useful. I think they're good. I don't think everybody's going to agree with me, and I really hope that everybody knows that you should be listening to other people too. We're not all going to agree, and that's okay. I wanted the Changemakers series to hit a particular niche Not the hardcore activists and organizers who've been doing this for a very long time, or the people who are like very inclined to just throw themselves full force into a movement. Most movements are carried by these like battering ram type people who are showing up and they are putting in stupid hours. They're learning a lot. They're growing a lot. Maybe they're getting some big wins. They're burning themselves out and they're looking around at their peers like, why? Can you help me out here? Can you help me out here? And I think that some people see these activists and organizers like burning themselves out and they're like, "Whoa, I don't want to do that. That looks terrible." Primarily, the Changemakers videos have been gravitating toward raising the floor, is what I would say. Talking to those people who are feeling this like persistent dread, but haven't felt yet like their participation would be impactful. They've heard so many conflicting things about how change is supposed to be made, and so they're worried about showing up in any particular way because they want to be effective, but they don't know how to do that. They don't know if this thing is going to be impactful enough, and so okay, like maybe they volunteer once per year, or maybe they like go to one protest every year, and like maybe they call their reps, once every 6 months, but like they sort of are walking around with this feeling like, is this anything? Is this enough? I think there are a lot of people who are looking at our current world and they just view our problems as completely intractable. Because look at what we're up against. We're up against billionaires and we're up against people who have no moral scruples. We are up against people who are willing to plunder and cheat and steal and lie and kill. They have no guardrails in the way they move about the world, and they've amassed so much power. And so we're looking every day at the results of that power, at what that power gets you. And it's no wonder a lot of people are intimidated into thinking like, what can I possibly do against this? We've seen that if public infrastructure stands in the way of Jeff Bezos getting his super yacht out to sea, he's going to ask for public infrastructure to be dismantled. Shameless. Fucking shameless. We've seen that Fox News is completely willing to air a story with old footage from a completely different city to paint some narrative of what's happening in the world that is not true. Like, fucking shameless. How do you compete with people this shameless? And we're told that we have people power. That's what we keep hearing, but do we believe it? That's the problem. Like, how do we get enough people to believe in people power? We are just one person. Why should I show up? Or even if I know why I should show up, what will it mean that I do? Like, am I really going to solve any problems? Or am I just delaying the inevitable? Am I just putting in the tiniest little dent to the point where it's basically inconsequential? Nothing would be all that different. I want to talk to those people. I want to kind of help restore that locus of control so that we can get back to being more civically minded. I'd like to help make some resources so that people can conceptualize how they fit into change making without having to maybe upend everything in their entire lives. So instead of having these 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, we have a broader swath. Straight up, I think some of the calls to action that we see on the internet that attempt to activate people almost seem to expect, I'm probably not going to phrase this in the right way, forgive me, they seem like they want people to get to here, immediately. They want people to go from here to here. And we don't need you to do that. We need some people to do that, but chances are they're not going from here to here. Chances are they're going from here to here. And frequently, those are the people who are the most affected by what's going on. We need everybody to support those people as much as possible. But part of the way we do that is by getting a lot of the population from here to here. But we don't need everybody to go from here to here. Most people are not going to reach up here in terms of commitment. Not everybody's gonna go from sitting on their couch to being a fucking armed revolutionary. Or, like, challenging their state's incumbent senator. That's not gonna happen for most people. Some of that is teaching people to carry the responsibility of the community inside of them, not to just view themselves as this one anonymous piece in like a huge sea waiting for their chosen voices to come and save their community for them. Because basically, even like our activist and organizing spaces, like you can tell that we've been told we live in a representative democracy, you know? We have these like people who are championing these causes that matter to us, and we applaud them, and they kind of speak for us, but... Oh, my camera died while I was recording. Please enjoy this footage of Benny as I continue this video as a disembodied voice. In our busy world, advocacy has overtaken activism, where individuals surrender their feeling of community ownership to a handful of groups that are underpaid and working too hard and engaging people in the same old ways. Not wanting to ask too much, please sign our petition, please sign our ballot initiative, please chip in $5. And these groups do good work. I'm not arguing that, but like I think it's created this divide between people where there are those who change things, and then the ordinary folks who are beneficiaries of, but not participants in that change. And to us, that seems right, like how it should be. Even when this relationship is sometimes antagonistic. Like, they're asking for my time again to sign a petition about tenants' unions. I'm just trying to go into this coffee shop and this person with the petition standing right outside. Oh, they're asking for a monthly donation to support food insecure kids. To me, this feels like another form of alienation. Like today, not only are we alienated from the products of our labor, we're alienated from the mechanisms and beneficiaries of community support. It's no wonder that we may not consider ourselves stewards of our community. We're less encouraged to take something on ourselves, unless we're like a high schooler looking for community service credits, or like an Eagle Scout. We've normalized offloading community responsibility to a few representatives. So it's cool to see on the ground initiatives playing out where community members are standing up for each other and themselves. We're seeing it in local fights against data centers, local efforts to show up against ICE. We're seeing union activity in sectors that have traditionally not seen that kind of activity. This is the shift we need, where every person takes some partial ownership of their little slice of community, be it their school, their town, their workplace. And they need to be able to trust that that will happen across the country. You don't need to personally depose Donald Trump. You don't need to personally break up big tech. Whatever massive thing you're feeling like you need to personally accomplish, no. The way we take back this country is we seize on opportunities where we are, in the position we're in the space we're in. We create a blueprint for others to do similarly. And we trust that other people will do the same elsewhere, and we support other people doing the same elsewhere. So again, your involvement, your stake, doesn't have to be 100%. We don't need everyone at 100%. We need as many people as we can get to 10%. 20%. If you're at 20%, can you get to 30%? If you're at 30%, can you get to 40%? You can certainly get to 40% a lot easier if you're surrounded by people who aren't at 0%, they're at 10%. You know what I'm saying? Raising the floor. My philosophy of change basically has 3 pillars. Basically that engaging more people in real work will create the conditions for natural leaders to arise, to be supported, and to be replaced when they need a break. And for more people to feel empowered to take on leadership positions because they can see they won't have to carry that full burden alone. It's also that we have to push every lever of power available to us. And it's that infighting is counterproductive. Acknowledging that we should be pushing every lever of power we can also has the benefit of allowing more people to find their place in the movement, because their place doesn't have to be your place. Get a centrist into power if the alternative is a conservative. Fight to get your coworkers a raise because that's more money in your community and less money in a rich man's pocket. Support people blocking freeways. Sorry. Allow more tactics to become palatable to you. And rather than denouncing people fighting for the world, strictly denounce the billionaires and their apologizers who are doing way more harm than any of these people ever could. Polarizing protests sit on a knife's edge between productive and counterproductive. Be part of the force pushing them toward productive by being willing to explain and contextualize to your friends and your relatives. I also want to talk about the way progressives talk to each other in 2026. This video is basically just like a huge thought dump, but like it feels good to just say a lot because the videos I normally do take so long. They take so long. It feels so good to just say words. So, firmly, I believe that everyone can give a few hours to their community each week. They can find a place they really enjoy lending their time. They can get out in the streets when they're needed. Most people can, and some choose not to, for whatever reasons. Again, often they can't convince themselves that their participation will truly leave a dent, leave a mark. But even acknowledging that, I'm gonna say, shame doesn't work. Shaming people for not doing enough or for not doing the thing you want them to do, in my opinion, it's a terrible tactic for motivating your own side, quote unquote. And I would work with activists and organizers who would try to get their point across or promote their own tactics by belittling their peers or allies. And would they sometimes have a point? Could their tactic possibly move some ground? Like maybe, I don't know. No one wanted to fucking work with them. No one wanted to work with them. And that kind of undercuts coalition building. I'm not going to say everyone needs to be coddled. You can persuade without belittling. And like, could you spin this all into some 4D chess story where the shame embeds deep into the psyche of your allies, and then 6 months down the road when their defenses finally break down and they're ready to admit you're right, then maybe that's when the seed blossoms and now you've cultivated a new warrior? I don't think so. Here's what I'll say. Progressive movements correctly emphasize the need for mental health preservation, and that is crucial because when people burn out, they burn out hard and they take years to come back into action. Don't contribute to the burnout of your fellow activists. It's honestly so counterproductive. If you care about the movement, don't use the same strategy that literal infiltrators will use to distract progressive organizations from accomplishing their goals. Like, I'm sorry, this video has just turned into a rant, but it amazed me when I was working on union organizing and I'd see some of my peers burn through support, antagonizing potential allies, turning everything into an argument. Like, if you're trying to form a union, for one thing, you need bodies. Just as a practical point, you need to learn how to bring people in. You're literally forming a body intended to promote the collective needs of your coworkers as a whole. That's class unity. How are you going to accomplish either of those two baseline requirements if you can't speak productively to any person who's not your exact type of leftist? You can't purity test your way into winning a union vote. And I'm not even saying open the tent to the bigots or something. Like, no, we don't need them. But we do need that guy who just so happens to have some different opinions on the historic efficacy of armed resistance. Like, you're unionizing a Chipotle. You don't need to agree on whether fascists can only be deposed through violence. You don't need to be shitty. You don't need to be shitty to your coworker who thinks Google shouldn't be nationalized or should be nationalized. For what it's worth, this is a minority of people I've worked with, but they were vocal and involved, and you see them all over the place online, and in person, like, they absolutely crush movement energy. I've wanted to say all this for such a long time. I'm going to give more specific scenarios on my Patreon, which finally gets me to the major reason I even wanted to make this video. My videos on activism take a long time because I want them to be as airtight as I can manage. I mean, like, fallible human that I am, before I let them out the door. I'm going to try to curb that in 2026 because I have way too many scripts at different stages of completion. Some have voiceover recorded, some have actual visuals, but on my Patreon, I'm going to be posting scripts, sections, I post drafts, I post things that aren't quite ready yet, but which I would appreciate early looks on, and I'm going to post more stuff like this, where I talk without tightly edited visuals. If you have a couple bucks and you've enjoyed the Changemakers series so far and you want to see how it develops, please join my Patreon. It would be a huge help, especially because I got laid off this fall. You've probably noticed that my video pace has increased. That's because I was laid off. It's a small company. Everyone's struggling right now. As soon as I'm done with this video here, I'm gonna put the next Changemakers video up on my Patreon for free. The topic is Anarchist Calisthenics, aka the habit of conditioning yourself to break laws and social norms when it's necessary to preserve safety or promote justice. Honestly, in my mind, it's nearly done, but especially with what's happening in Minnesota, there are some changes that I want to make to it. I'm going to be resting up a bit from the surgery. I'm not going to have the brain power to do what I want to do. So I'm posting it as is to Patreon for free. The link's in the pinned comment. I just wouldn't feel right putting it out into the wide world of YouTube in its current state, in this current moment, because it doesn't take into account some of the harder edge stuff that we're seeing play out in the streets right now. And I think it needs to. I want to more vocally say that, like, yeah, you should be ready to hide your neighbors if ICE shows up on your street. Like, that is what you as a community member should be ready to do. Like, you cover for your neighbors. I want to say that outright. It's in the typical Changemakers style where I talk about more base level things because I do want small actions to feel impactful. I think that's vital to restoring that locus of control, to restoring that civic mindedness. I don't want viewers to feel like they must fully transform themselves into some righteous paradigm. I want them to envision how they can show up as the person they are today. I think that'll give us a much bigger, richer pool from which to draw. Like, some of those people will go on to put themselves in situations where they'll meet the people who can bring them further on their journey. Like, you go to a meeting you never thought you'd go to, suddenly you meet someone who's not me, who will teach you more than I ever could, because you're in a room together. For this channel, I really only did like pretty serious videos last year, and I'm excited to keep doing those, but especially for the next month or so when I'm laid up, like I'm gonna do some fun stuff too. So I'm also gonna be interspersing the more serious videos with getting back to chatting about some books, some shows, some games. YouTube is weird because they kind of want you to put out the same stuff really consistently, and I'm just not gonna do that. Like, my channel is just the place where I am a person. I'm not a brand. And so sometimes you're gonna get hour-long media discussions, and sometimes you're gonna get a 6-minute tightly edited video on one political topic. And if YouTube doesn't like that, YouTube can always go fuck itself. I'm really happy to have reached the people that I've reached on this channel. It makes me so happy that although my view counts are typically pretty low, I see a lot of familiar names consistently in the comment section. I love that. I love that. That is honestly so much more rewarding than if I was consistently getting like 100,000 views, but didn't feel like I had any people who watched my stuff just because they liked my stuff. They found a video because I was talking about some trendy thing, and then like they'll never see my stuff again. So I really appreciate all of you. Whenever I see you pop up in the comments, it really genuinely makes me so happy. My lofty goal is to sustain myself purely through this channel by the end of 2027, which I'm not gonna think too hard about it, honestly. Like, I'm just gonna make stuff, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So here's to 2026. This is really cheesy, but I'm curious to hear, what is one small thing you want to push yourself to do this year to show up for your community? Either maintaining something you're already doing or starting something new, however small. This is a no judgment zone. We just need more people doing stuff, honestly. My goals are, anytime I'm in a place for a month or longer, to get involved with a local organization and volunteer at least twice a week. You know, establish connections in places that I tend to return to frequently. And I'd like to finally get this initiative off the ground to help other nomadic people spread literature across the country. I'm nomadic, and I end up in a lot of states. a lot of truck stops, a lot of libraries. I end up all over the place. And anytime I'm in like a coffee shop in Lexington, Kentucky, or a grocery store in Buffalo, Montana, or a library in Topeka, Kansas, or Billings, Montana, or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Astoria, Oregon, I'm like, God, I wish I had some stickers or some zines or something. Like, I could spread so much physical literature. So that's another thing I'd like to get off the ground in 2026. How can I use my nomadic tendencies to help spread good ideas that might be seen by people who've been sectioned off into one particular news bubble, one particular TikTok algorithm, and might never have seen these ideas otherwise? I really believe that in the age of digital overwhelm, the info war needs to carry out into physical space. We have numbers over them. Progressives have numbers over reactionaries. Like, we can paper the streets. We can always overwhelm the streets because fucking Twitter bots can't wheat paste. Wow. Thanks for tuning into this. My gosh, this is the most energized I've felt in a while. I've been so bored. Hopefully I'll see some of y'all in the comments of the draft Anarchist Calisthenics video on Patreon. If not, hope to see you again somewhere down the road in 2026. Bye!